Hello everyone, Peter Hewitt L'Artistino. It's been a few months since I put up the last two videos where I showed you all the colouring that I've done over the last 3 years. So I thought I'd do a bit of a catch up and show you what I've been doing over the last 3 months. So I've got my arrangement of books here to show you. To start off with, I'll put them to one side and bring them out one by one for you. First one that I want to show you is Johanna Basford's World of Flowers. Now Johanna very kindly sent this copy to me along with a set of Faber-Castell polychromas, and I thank her very much for it because I've been having a lot of fun in this book over the past month. Now the first picture that I've here to show you is this one here, the Nameplate Page, and I actually coloured this one in with Lyra Rembrandt polycolours just because I've got I think I've got the 12 set tin and a handful of open stock pencils. I wanted to play with them. I hadn't played with them for a while and had a bit of fun in here. They work fine in this book. I do find the Lyra's a little bit scratchy, sort of chalky to use, but I still enjoyed it. And I would be quite happy if that was all I had to colour in this book. I'd be quite happy doing it. Next, I've started this double page spread, and I'm kind of using this one as my warm-up page. Before when I sit down to colour, I'll just colour in a couple of flowers or a couple of leaves on this page before moving on to what I'm actually doing, just to warm up my colouring hand. I envisioned that when I finish this, I will just put in a bit of a loose background with some powdered pastels. I'll just rub that in. Next one in here, I'm still working on. Where is it? And that's this one here. Again, I'm using the Lyras on this page. I haven't finished it just yet. Having a lot of fun with it. I do like doing these pattern pages sometimes because once you've established what colours you're using, it's just a case of colouring. You don't have to think about it anymore, so I find them very relaxing. The one thing I'm finding with the light violet of the Lyra polycolour pencils, they do leave a very funny sort of chunky texture, like chalk on a chalkboard sort of texture. I've tried to use some blending sort of fluid. I think it's an Art Spectrum one, so it's one that's available in Australia. I don't think it actually makes much difference to it, so I've decided just to leave it as it is, and I will work with that funny chalky pattern and just incorporate it as part of the picture. Still not quite sure how I'm going to put the colours down here. It'll come to me when I get to it. Now the next picture I've done in here is one that you possibly have seen on my Instagram account, and this was the picture which actually I've added a lot to it. It was just a set of shelves with pot plants on it and these little pictures down the bottom, and I've added the background of the window and the stone flooring here, and I did that just drawing it in first with a pencil and then outlining it with a fine liner, a 0.2 fine liner. I find that comes to just about exactly the same width as the lines that Johanna's already laid down first, and then just coloured it in with this one. It was a mixture of the Staedtler Ergosoft for the actual pot plants and polychromos pencils for the background. I'm still not 100% on it. I think the surrounding bit needs to be a different colour, but I'm not quite sure, so I'll just leave it as it is for now, and if I feel like I need to change it later on, I'll come back and change it. Now the next one in here that I have done is the one that you will find a colouring tutorial on this channel. There's a 3-part colouring tutorial, and I did this one in response to colouring this picture, which is my final picture I've coloured in the book, which I posted on Instagram, and I got a lot of interest, so I asked if people would be interested in me doing a tutorial showing how I coloured this picture but using another picture but the same colour schemes and techniques. So these colours that I used here are exactly the same as the colours that appear here in this one. And that's all I've done in this book so far. Loving it, absolutely loving it. I'm about to go on holidays and this one's coming with me. The next book that I've got to show you is Dagdrama. Now I'm trying to remember what you've already seen here. I think I've only done one more in here since then, and that would be this one here. Again, it's been up on my Instagram. This is one that I painted the background first and then I added the colours on top, and these were coloured in with Faber-Castell's Gold Faber pencils. That's their craft line of pencils, and I found they're absolutely perfect for colouring books. They're lovely, they're soft, they layer really well, and they're an absolute joy. It's a pack that my husband bought for me with his, when he got a bit of money in his tax return. Now the background I did in watercolours. I used the Mungio watercolours. Now the Mungios are little half pan sets. They are identical to the Prima marketing sets in the type of paint that they use, only my Mungio set's a big 48 pan set, which I bought, I think it cost me about $70 from my local art shop. So 48 pans for $70 is pretty good, and the paints are a lot of fun. They're fairly good quality and I enjoyed them. I also used, little hint, a masking fluid, and this is the Schminky masking fluid that I use, and I like using these sort because they actually have a nozzle, and you can just, well I won't do it, but you can just sort of like draw a line with the nozzle. Now traditionally with masking fluid you use a paintbrush, and of course masking fluid sets like a rubbery plastic, so it actually destroys your paintbrushes. Using one of these is much easier, I think, and you don't ruin paintbrushes. So you just go around, and I just did a line all around the outside to protect the paper from the paint, from areas on the fish that I didn't want it, and then I just splashed on a whole lot of paint, and then I used a bit of the Gansai Tumbi gold watercolor paint. You can get the little gold set of about 6 different little pots of watercolor, and I just threw on a little bit of that to give it some glitter, and then after it all dried I coloured in the fish, and that's all for him. Now while we're on the topic of tutorials, I reviewed a set of alcohol based markers using this book, and I've actually done 2 pictures in this book with those alcohol markers. This is the picture that I used for the tutorial, the little mermaid there, and another picture that I did prior to the tutorial just so I could test them out myself and know what to expect, is this picture right here. So lots of fun. I like this book. You can knock over a picture in a couple of hours, and it's just very satisfying. I love Hannah Lynn's work, really do. Now next book that we can look at is Ivy and the Inky Butterfly. There was one picture in here that I hadn't completed when I did the last walkthrough of my coloured pages, and I just wanted to give you a quick update to show that it actually been completed. And you know, this would have been a lot easier if I'd actually marked the pages beforehand so that I could get to them really quickly. There it is. Okay, I think I completed most of the rows of these different leaves and flowers and animals, but I hadn't quite finished them all. So these were all completed with the Staedtler 26 Urco soft pencils. And here is the other side, which is coloured in with, oh, they were with the Ergo Softs too. So that's the only thing that I've done in this book, but I'm planning to do another picture in it after I finish the current picture that I'm working on. The next book that I want to show you is a couple that I finished in Anamorphia. Now remember last time I had a couple in here that were outstanding. I'd started them but I hadn't completed them. Well, I actually got off my butt and completed them, so I can show them to you now. Is the butterfly page. I've completed doing all the doodles and all the butterflies, and doing this kind of sort of pseudo bokeh kind of background here, just with light fuzzes of pencil. Great fun. Feel I've made it my own by adding my own drawings to it. I decided not to colour in them and just leave the doodles as black and white and have the colour being in the background. The other one that I've done in here is this one here, the leopard. Now I think I just had this part up here coloured at the time. I've since completed the whole lot, and I've actually done the leopard head as well. The way I did the leopard head was I used some watercolour markers. I think I used some Tombows and some of the Faber-Castell connector pens, and I used that to colour in the head of the leopard, so that it was much quicker than using pencils, and I didn't think I really needed to. I think I could get the effect that I wanted with watercolour markers. Also, they haven't bled through at all, which is great. And I picked up some details with a white Uniball gel pen as well, just to put in a bit of fuzz to the fur. The colouring on this side was all done with Colleen pencils. And that's that book. We've got another one here in Mythomorphia. I did a double page spread. Once again, it's one that I had started but I hadn't completed, so I got stuck into it, and it's the Kieran picture. This was buckets of fun. I really felt confident when I did this one that I knew exactly what I wanted to do with it, and I love it when the colouring goes like that instead of sort of having to struggle and think, what do I do next? Now this was done with Black Widow pencils, and the background was done with Neocolor 2s, which make it so much quicker to do a background. And once again, I've got no bleed through at all with the Neocolor 2s in this book, and the paper actually stayed fairly flat, so there's barely a ripple in it at all, which I'm really happy after using a wet medium in the paper. So that's my Kieran. Hello, let's do Lizzie Mary Cullen, one of my favourite books, and as you know, this is one book that I am determined to actually get finished. So I think last time you saw this book, I had started this one. Right now I finished it. This is the Moulin Rouge page. I added my own showgirls to the picture, and I completed the background. I want it to look really smoky, hazy, with lots of fireworks going on and lots of bright splashy colour, and that's exactly what I did to it. Splashed a lot of colour on it. Really, really, really happy with the way this one turned out. And after that, I pictured this one, a little bit more demure. This is the first picture of Paris, and I tried to limit my palette to just the gold, some desaturated greens and some blues. I think that's worked really well with this picture. Next, now I had been doing this book sequentially, trying to go from page to page to page, you know, in order, but then I thought, oh, blow it, there's some pictures I really just want to do and I'm inspired to do, so I jumped around and started colouring in pages in different areas. So I did this picture of Sydney Harbour with the Opera House and the Sydney Harbour Bridge. That's good, a couple of kangaroos bouncing around as well. I like that. This one I was saving up to. I was feeling really confident with being Australian, and this is an Aussie picture. I wanted this one to turn out well. And the next one, I did a little one here. This was a nice quick one. This is Red House at Bexley Heath. And then I think I've done, yeah, I did this one of, now I'm not quite sure how to pronounce this place. I think it's Ischia or Ischia in Italy. Also lots of fun, lots of big sparkles and sunlights and sparkly water. That was great. That took me a couple of days to do. I think I had that one already complete. Not terribly thrilled about it, but it's not bad. It is what it is. It did just start out as a test page, so I've kind of pulled it through into some kind of order. And lastly, this one, which is the Taj Mahal, which I'm really chuffed with. I love how this turned out. I love the really bright, the purples, the greens, the blues, the golds. It's just nice. I even went in with my Gunzai Tambi gold paints and added some gold detail to this picture, which I will be doing again because I really love the result. And that's all in this one. Yeah, Enchanted Forest. Now my Enchanted Forest is the Australian version. It has a dust cover just like the English version. I take the dust covers off to protect them, and so that's just the bare cover itself. Now this one I've done a couple more in. Let me think, what have I done since? I think you've seen those. Not really thrilled with this one. I think I can add a bit more background to it. Now, the 4 animal pictures come up next, and I was stumped with what to do. I've seen some absolutely gorgeous colourings with beautiful backgrounds that have been drawn in and everything. So damn creative, and I wanted to do something different. So I came up with this. Here, I've decided to colour them in their own colours. So you've got the grey bunny with pink, and you've got the hedgehog with the yellow. The leaves I drew in beforehand with a pencil and then outlined them with a fine liner one that is water resistant, by the way, because I don't want the fine liners smearing. If you don't know, test your fine liners first. Draw it on a piece of paper, let it sit for half an hour, and then put water over the top to see if they run or not. If they run, they're no good to do this with unless you're just using pencil. But if you're going to use wet media, you need a fine liner that won't run. So anyway, I did that. I coloured in my rabbit first, and then I went around the outside with several different shades of the pink and magenta of the Neocolour 2s, activated it with water, and once that had dried, I went over and did all these little bubbles and dots with a Uniball white gel pen. Did exactly the same for this hedgehog guy, but with the yellows, and then oh, this is a page you've already seen. That was the first page I coloured in here. Haven't done those ones yet. This side, I did exactly the same technique so that all be a matching set. This one, of course, I did with the blues, and that's my squirrel. Actually, I think this one I'm the most happiest out of all four of them. And my fox here with the greens. So I've got a lovely matching set of animals there. I don't think I've done anything else in there since you've seen last. And finally, I've got two more books that I've done a bit more in, and that is the Die Welt unter der Lupe zu Wasser and Die Welt unter der Lupe zu Lande. Probably butchered those, but anyway, I always do. Okay, now this one is one that I did in here when I put the watercolour down for the fish picture in Dagdrama. I had a lot of watercolour left over, and I didn't want to wash it out of my palette, so I thought I just grabbed this book and threw it in here, and I coloured this page with the watercolours. I did all the background, and once I'd done that, of course, I had to finish colouring it. So watercoloured the background, the little animals and that have been coloured in with a mixture of, let me think, I think I used polychromos pencils, and I was also testing my gold Faber pencils in this because I'd only just got them. And then I went over all the little bubbles here, and I just drew a line of white Uniball gel pen around the inside of each bubble to make them look, well, more bubbly. So that's that one done, and I think I did one more in here, just a little one. I had this picture already done, and I'd already done the pearls that you can see there, so I finished off the Nautilus here with polychromos pencils. I've just left the background white, works for me. And finally, one in Die Welt unter der Lupe zu Lande, and this one again, I just got my Faber-Castell gold Faber pencils, and I wanted to test it in this book, so I coloured in this beehive picture. I also must say, if anybody listens to, and you should, listens to the Passionista Colorista podcast by a lovely lady called Isabel. You can find it on Podbean, which is a podcast app. I'll leave a link below. Anyway, to make a long story short, Isabel approached me to ask if I'd be interested in having an interview with her, and we set up a time to Skype an interview that would be broadcast as an episode of her podcast. And I was so nervous before the interview that I thought I'll sit down and I'll start colouring, and that'll just, sort of like calm me down a little bit. And this is the picture that I started. So while I'm talking to Isabel, when you hear on the podcast, I'm at the same time I'm colouring this picture. Anyway, it took me a little while afterwards. A couple of days later, I had it complete. So I just thought I'd share that with you. And I will leave a link below to the podcast that I am interviewed in. But you must also please listen to the other podcasts because they're all wonderful. Isabel has contacted a range of people who are very active in the colouring community, from artists like Johanna Basford'he and Millie Marotta, a whole bunch of others, and other colourists, and she also discusses about the art of colouring and colouring books, so do listen to that. Anyway, that's all I have to show you this time. Anyway, until then, I'm going to get back to colouring. I hope you're having fun with any colouring adventures that you are currently on, and until next time, happy colouring. you're enjoying any colouring adventures that you are currently on, and until next time, happy colouring!